Okay, so in section 2.3, we're going to talk about graphing equations of lines. And the main way we're going to do this today is by using slope-intercept form. So if you remember, slope-intercept form is the form of the equation of linear equations y equals mx plus b, where m represents your slope and b represents your y-intercept. So we're going to use this form of an equation of a line to help us graph today. So let's just talk about the basics. Starting out, let's see, we have the equation y equals 2/3 x minus 1. So when you want to graph with slope-intercept form, first of all, you want to make sure that you have an equation that's in slope-intercept form. So make sure it looks like the form y equals mx plus b. You have a slope right here, right next to your x, and then you have a number at the end for your y-intercept. So you're going to draw yourself an x and y axis on your graph paper. And the first thing you're going to graph is your y-intercept. So our y-intercept for this problem is going to be where the b is. 2/3 is in the m location, -1 is in the b. So our b is -1. So that means we're going to be crossing our y-axis at the point 0, -1. So go to -1 on the y-axis, and that is our y-intercept for this line. Now our slope is the number that is with the x variable. So the number with our x is 2/3. And it's okay that it's a fraction, and actually it's a good thing that it's a fraction because when you have a slope and you're graphing, you need a rise and a run. So remember that slope is also equal to rise over run. So our number that's on the numerator will be the number we rise with, and the number that's with the denominator is the one that we're going to run with. So we're going to rise 2. That means I'm going to go up 2 from my y-intercept. So I'm going to go up 2 spaces on the y-axis. And my run is +3. So that means I'm going to go to the right 3 spaces. So I rise up 2 and run to the right 3 spaces. And that is going to be my next point on my line. And as far as I'm concerned, when we're doing just these types of problems, I'm okay if you only plot 2 points on your line. So then you just go ahead and draw a line between your 2 points and make sure you put arrows on them because these lines are continuous and they last forever. So that means they need to show that they go on forever using arrows. And that's how you graph an equation of a line with slope-intercept form. So let's just talk about some other types. Let's say we have one that is like this. Y equals -2x plus 3. So again, you want to check and make sure it's in the form y equals mx plus b, and this one is as well. So we're going to draw our x and y axis. And the first thing that we're going to do in terms of graphing this line is locate our y-intercept. So the 3 right there is in the b location of y equals mx plus b. So that means the point 0, 3 is our y-intercept. So we're going to go to 0, 3 on the y-axis. And then we look for the slope, and the slope, remember, is the one attached to the x. So our slope is -2. Now when we have a whole number that's not a fraction as our slope, we need to make sure we put it over 1 because we have to rise and we have to run. So make sure that you put your whole number slopes over 1. So our slope is -2 over 1, so our rise is -2. That means we go down 2 spaces, and we're going to run to the right 1 time. So there's our new point on our line. We can also do it multiple times, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. We can also go in the opposite direction and go up 2 and left 1, and it's still the same point on the same line. And then you can connect them and put arrows on it. And notice we have a negative slope, so our graph should be falling from left to right, like we talked about in the last section. And there's our graph. So let's talk about also, what if we have a problem like this. It's in slope-intercept form, however, there is no b term. There is no y-intercept given in our equation. So if we are not given a y-intercept in our equation, then the y-intercept will be 0, because it's the same thing as adding 0 to something. You add nothing to something, you get the original equation. So we're going to use 0 for our y-intercept if they do not give us a b value. And our slope, so we're going to go down 2, that's our rise, and we're going to run to the right 1 time. And you're going to connect it with a line. Mine's pretty crooked. It's a little better. And make sure you put arrows on your line always. So our next scenario will be an equation that is not in slope-intercept form. So let's use this one for example. All right, so our equation does not look like y equals mx plus b this time. So if our equation does not look like y equals mx plus b, then that is going to be our first order of business, will be to make it look like y equals mx plus b. So we're going to solve the equation for y. So the first thing we're going to do this is we're going to add the 2x to both sides, because we want to get this y value variable by itself. We're going to add 2x to both sides. Those cancel. So I have 3y equals, and I want to make sure that I write it so that the x comes first, because in the equation y equals mx plus b, the term with the x comes before the one that doesn't have an x. So we're going to write 2x plus 6 because they're all positive. And lastly, to solve for y by itself, I'm going to divide each term by 3. And then simplify all the parts. So 2/3 x is already simplified, plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. So now we have the equation y equals 2/3 x plus 2. And now it's in slope-intercept form. So now we are ready to graph this line. I'm going to do it over here so I have enough room. I'm going to draw my x-axis down here lower because I'm going to be going up from the top. So my y-intercept this time is 2. So 0, 2 is my y-intercept. And my slope is 2/3, with 2 being my rise and 3 being my run. So I'm going to go rise up 2 from there, and then I'm going to run to the right 3 times. And connect it with a line. Mine didn't really hit my points very good. And then put arrows on it because these lines extend forever. So hopefully this refamiliarized you with having to graph equations of lines in slope-intercept form and then how to put lines in slope-intercept form. Have a good day.